So, our forever glorious Duchess of Sussex finally released the teaser for her
I'm Meghan, and this is Archetypes.
What? What is this? Who are you?
I'm Meghan, and this is Archetypes.
You're not Meghan. That's not her voice. No, seriously, who are you?
I'm Meghan. I'm Meghan. I'm Meghan.
But why do you sound like Elizabeth Holmes on meth?
I'm Meghan, and this is Archetypes.
Yeah, I had to double check that. That's Meghan, and that's how she introduces herself in the teaser for her Spotify podcast that I listened and analyzed so you don't have to. Welcome back, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and it would be great if you join us by just liking this video, subscribing, and hitting that bell. Let's get down to it. Before we begin, just a quick reminder that I'm on my second YouTube anniversary and you got only 72 hours left to grab my limited edition merch featuring the introduction that you just repeated along with me a few seconds ago. You can get them with the link in the description before they get vanished from existence, so hurry up before time's up. So we were talking about Meghan's podcast, which is called Archetypes. I guess it wants to be some kind of wordplay with Archwell. It couldn't possibly have anything to do with Archvillain, right? And it's such a coincidence that she dropped this teaser when Catherine and William were making waves worldwide with their Caribbean tour. Now, it's interesting to say the least that the first thing you realize about this teaser is that Meghan completely dropped the Duchess of Sussex title and went for her name instead. Well, at least in the audio, since the Spotify description still has her title. Well, I have to say that the first part of the teaser brings a very interesting concept. It's got some radio fuzz and then rapidly switches channels and you begin to listen to typical society stereotypes about women. That women should be quiet and submissive, that women are emotionally unstable, that they are smaller or weaker, and also included a short sound clip from that creepy remark on Simone Biles not smiling.
I was waiting for you to smile at some of the compliments. You didn't.
She's being smiling doesn't win you gold medals.
Now, in the description, it says that Meghan will speak with historians and experts to uncover the origin of these stereotypes and have uncensored conversations with women who know all too well how these typecasts shape our narratives. Notice how the word stereotypes is critical to this concept, and I think it's important to understand why society assumes that a woman has to be submissive or has to smile a lot to be, well, a woman. And I always refer to fictional characters in popular culture, so it's a good example how Scarlett Johansson, for example, made Black Widow so attractive for male audiences despite not being submissive or smiling all the time. Well, maybe that black leather suit helped a bit. But then, if Meghan has set out to fight the stereotypes, then why call the podcast Archetypes? It can be confusing because the difference between archetypes and stereotypes can be hard to pinpoint. It was Carl Jung who theorized that humans use symbols to more easily understand complex concepts, and that's where archetypes come from. To illustrate it in the simplest way possible, two of those personality archetypes are called the magician and the hero. The magician wants to understand the laws of the universe, wants to make dreams come true and make things happen, while the hero wants to prove his own worth with acts, attain mastery in a way that improves the world, and be as competent as possible. Now, if I showed you an image of Conan the Barbarian that also happens to be the coolest crossover ever and include Gandalf the Grey, who do you think will be the magician and who will be the hero? And it's easy to immediately assume that Conan is the hero and Gandalf is the magician. And of course I pick up those examples because there was no way that your mind would not make that assumption. Because that's how we stereotypically think about those archetypes. What if instead we think about Sandra Bullock in the film The Blind Side, where she helps a homeless and traumatized boy to become a first-round NFL draft pick, and at the same time of Chihiro from Spirited Away, who needs to find courage to break her parents free from a spell. In The Blind Side, Sandra Bullock fits the archetype of magician. She understands the laws of the game, wants to make dreams come true and make things happen. And in Spirited Away, Chihiro wants to prove her own worth with acts, attain mastery in a way that improves the world, and be as competent as possible. Another very good example of magicians is in the movie Hidden Figures. So you have these scientists that know the rules of the universe and make things happen. They land people on the moon, but they are very far from our usual stereotype of scientists, which most probably you thought about Doc Brown. So I think that the concept of interviewing historians to understand what our current stereotypes of women come from is a great idea. What I'm not so sure is how popular can be that concept, especially if there's the slightest hint of political agenda. I want to make it clear that the concept of exploring both archetypes and stereotypes is a fascinating topic, not only in psychology because it helps us understand a lot about our personalities and be able to find our purpose and mission, but also in art, like movies, because it helps us better appreciate stories and character arcs. In fact, men are also heavily judged by stereotypes. If women are extremely emotional, then men should be not emotional at all, which is the exact same nonsense, just in different extremes of the graphic, and leads to the same neurosis, depression, and anxiety, because we are constantly trying to match people's expectations. But, Meghan, how can I say this kindly? You want to have your royal cake and eat it too. You want to be the embodiment of Carl Jung's archetype of the rebel. Rules are made to be broken. You want to start a revolution. You want to overturn what is not working. But every single thing that you've done so far is costing in everything that you've been trying to break free from. E.g., your royal title. And I guess that this is where you drew the line of hypocrisy. Hey, I think this will be too much. I cannot call myself the Duchess of Sussex on that intro with a straight face. I'll go with just Meghan instead. So, as I said, that is a good starting point. But now that I think of it, where's Harry? We thought that this podcast was going to be with both the Harkles. And it would make sense because since none of them has enough podcasting or interviewing experience on their own, being together would be easier to bounce ideas between each other and their guests. In fact, if only one of them would be doing a podcast on subverting women's stereotypes, my suggestion is that it must have been Harry. I mean, if we're talking about breaking expectations and preconceived judgments, that would have been a bold move. But well, we have the just Meghan version, so we'll have to go with that. My premonition is that she's gonna use this space as a launchpad for her political career. And that must be one of the reasons her podcasting voice sounds like that. Full, deep, because that's something that we automatically relate to someone that is powerful, commanding, who knows what they are doing. And that's the exact same reason why Elizabeth Holmes faked her deep voice to scam half a country. Until she, well, no longer did. So, Spotify, I want to think that you know something that we don't. That you somehow gave this a good analysis, a serious thought. That you had the opportunity to meditate upon this decision a couple hundred nights and finally arrived at the conclusion that this was worth a shot. I mean, the concept itself sounds promising, but we are talking about Meghan Markle, and her loyalty track record is not exactly something that will let you sleep at night. But as in everything royal and not royal, when this podcast comes out, your trusty body language guy will be there to give it a listen so you don't have to. If you want to refine your observation skills, all you have to do is download my 100 body language tips right in the description of this video. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas and it will always be a pleasure, my body language buddies. Much love and bliss.